We live in an age of information overload. We consume endless books, podcasts, and videos, gathering knowledge like a collector gathers coins. We often mistake this consumption for progress, but Jesus pointed out a harsh reality. Knowing the truth is completely useless unless you act on it. Information without implementation is just a form of entertainment. It gives you the feeling of growth without the actual results. He famously used the analogy of two builders. One built on rock, the other on sand. When the storm hit, only the house on the rock remained. This isn't just a metaphor for faith, it's a direct commentary on execution. The man who builds on sand is the person who hears the instructions but fails to apply them. He has the blueprints, the materials, and the knowledge, but he lacks the discipline to dig deep and lay a solid foundation. In the real world, a lack of execution is a lack of foundation. Real power is found in being a doer, not just a listener. Listening is passive, it requires no risk and very little energy. Doing is active, it requires effort, courage, and the willingness to fail. You can study the mechanics of a business or a skill for years, but you won't truly understand it until you start doing the work. The market doesn't reward what you know, it rewards what you produce. Inaction has a high cost. Every time you learn something new and fail to act on it, you train your brain to ignore your own potential. You build a habit of hesitation. Over time, this gap between what you know and what you do creates a sense of internal frustration. You feel stuck not because you lack the map, but because you refuse to take the first step. The house on the rock is built through the daily, often boring work of application. It is the result of taking a single principle and practicing it until it becomes a habit. Don't wait until you have perfect understanding to move. Clarity comes through action, not through thinking. Start building on the rock today by taking one thing you know you should do, and actually doing it. Jesus spoke about a profound biological and spiritual truth. If your eye is single, your whole body will be full of light. In modern terms, this is the principle of radical focus. If your vision is clear and concentrated on one point, your entire life gains momentum. But if your vision is divided, if your eye is evil or scattered, you live in darkness and confusion. You are busy, but you aren't moving. In a world designed to steal your attention, focus has become a superpower. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they suffer from vision fragmentation. They try to chase 3 different business ideas, 5 different hobbies, and 10 different goals all at the same time. By trying to serve multiple masters, they dilute their energy to the point of insignificance. When you spread your light too thin, it provides no warmth. When you focus it through a lens, it can burn through steel. If you try to serve multiple goals at once, you achieve nothing of substance. Every time you switch tasks or split your focus, you pay a switching cost in mental energy. You become a jack of all trades and a master of none. The single eye means having the courage to choose one priority and treat everything else as a distraction. It is the ability to say, "This is the one thing that matters right now." A focused life is a bright life. When you have a singular focus, your decision-making becomes instant. You no longer struggle with analysis paralysis because you have a clear filter. Does this action serve my primary goal? If the answer is no, the answer is no. This clarity eliminates the gray area that wastes so much of our time and mental space. Radical focus is not about working harder, it is about working with a sharper edge. It is about deciding what you are willing to ignore. By narrowing your gaze, you broaden your impact. Fix your eye on your highest calling and let the distractions fall away. When you are single-minded in your execution, the results will speak for themselves. Excellence is rarely produced in public. It is forged in private. Before every major decision or significant action, Jesus consistently withdrew to a private place, away from the crowds, the demands, and the noise. This wasn't a retreat from reality, it was a strategy for mastery. In a world that is obsessed with being seen, we have forgotten that true strength is built in the quiet. This is the ultimate deep work strategy. Most people today operate in a state of constant shallow distraction. They work with one eye on their task and the other on their notifications, wondering why they never achieve a breakthrough. Deep work, the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task, requires a secret place. It requires you to intentionally disconnect from the applause of the crowd and the noise of social media so you can connect with your highest level of capability. The value of the secret place is that it allows for unfiltered preparation. Away from the pressure to perform or the need to impress others, you can confront the truth of your work. You can find the flaws in your strategy, sharpen your skills, and build the mental stamina required for the task ahead. If you only work when people are watching, you will only ever produce surface-level results. True excellence requires long periods of invisibility. Whether it's mastering a craft, building a business, or developing your character, the most important work happens when no one is clapping. If you cannot handle being alone with your work, you will never be great in front of a crowd. The public performance is simply a shadow of the private preparation. Build your own secret place. Schedule time where the world cannot reach you. Turn off the phone, close the door, and dive deep into the work that matters. By valuing the discipline of privacy, you ensure that when you finally do step into the light, you have something of substance to show. The depth of your private discipline determines the height of your public impact. One of the most surprising aspects of Jesus' life was his ability to walk away. He didn't heal every sick person in every village, and he didn't answer every critic who demanded his time. He understood that his time on earth was finite, and his mission was specific. To fulfill that mission, he had to say no to many good things, so he could say yes to the best thing. This is the essence of strategic leadership. Most people struggle with the productivity trap. They believe that being busy is the same as being successful. They try to say yes to every opportunity, every request, and every distraction, fearing that saying no will make them look uncaring or unproductive. But when you say yes to everything, you are effectively saying no to your primary purpose. You become a person who is efficient at doing things right, but completely ineffective because you aren't doing the right things. Efficiency is about speed and skill. Effectiveness is about direction and priority. A leader understands that their most valuable resource is not money, but their focused attention. If you are constantly reacting to the urgent needs of others, you will never have time for the important tasks that actually move the needle. You must have a clear filter for your life, a mission statement that allows you to ruthlessly eliminate anything that doesn't align with your goals. Saying no is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of integrity. It shows that you value your mission enough to protect it. When you set firm boundaries on your time, you actually increase your value. People begin to realize that your yes has weight because it is rare. By narrowing your focus, you ensure that the few things you do choose to engage in receive 100% of your power. To lead like a professional, you must master the art of the strategic no. Audit your daily schedule and identify the tasks that are merely good but not essential. Clear them out. Real effectiveness is not about how much you can fit into your day, but about how much you can remove so that the most important work can finally breathe. We live in a culture obsessed with the overnight success. We are constantly looking for the one big break, the viral moment, or the single decision that will change everything. But this is a trap. Jesus described growth through the analogy of a mustard seed, something so small it is easily overlooked, yet it eventually grows into something massive. This is the law of compounding applied to human execution. Success is not an event, it is a process of accumulation. Every great achievement is built on a foundation of small, repetitive, and often boring actions. Like a seed, most of the initial growth happens underground where no one can see it. In your daily life, this means the extra hour of study, the consistent habit of planning, or the discipline of showing up when you don't feel like it. In the short term, these actions seem to produce zero results. But in the long term, they are the only things that matter. The law of compounding requires you to trust the process and let time do the heavy lifting. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they quit before the harvest. They dig up the seed because they don't see a tree after a week. If you can maintain your 1% improvements while others are quitting out of boredom, you are utilizing time as your greatest lever. When time becomes your ally instead of your enemy, success becomes inevitable. Understanding seeds and harvests means moving from a gambler's mindset to a farmer's mindset. A gambler looks for a single win to solve all their problems. A farmer looks for a consistent system of planting and watering. You must stop focusing on the harvest and start focusing on the seed. If you take care of the daily actions, the harvest will take care of itself. Consistency is the ultimate competitive advantage. While others are searching for shortcuts, you are building a root system. As long as your direction is correct and your actions are consistent, the simple math of compounding will eventually separate you from the crowd. Plant the seed today and give time the permission to make it great. In any pursuit of excellence, criticism is not just a possibility, it is a certainty. The moment you decide to move, you create friction. Jesus understood this reality and gave his followers a very specific instruction for when they encountered rejection or hostility: shake the dust off your feet. This was a physical act with a deep psychological meaning. It meant that you refused to carry the weight of someone else's negativity into your next destination. Most people fail to reach their full potential because they allow criticism to paralyze their momentum. They treat every negative comment, every doubt from a peer, or every rejection as a heavy stone they must carry. Eventually, they become so weighed down by the opinions of others that they stop moving altogether. Shaking the dust off means acknowledging that while you may have encountered resistance, you do not have to internalize it. You leave the negativity where it belongs, behind you. Learning to process feedback is essential, but you must distinguish between constructive critique and empty noise. Constructive feedback is a tool for improvement. Noise is just dust. If you spend your time trying to win over every critic, or defending yourself against every misunderstanding, you are wasting the energy you need for your mission. A high performer listens for the signal, but ruthlessly ignores the static. This practice is about emotional hygiene. If you allow the dust of rejection to stay on you, it begins to influence your next interaction. You become defensive, cynical, or hesitant. By shaking it off immediately, you ensure that you arrive at your next opportunity with a clean slate and your confidence intact. You protect your internal environment from external pollution. Do not let the world's opinion of you become more important than your own mission. If a door doesn't open, or if someone attacks your progress, don't argue and don't linger. Shake it off, keep your heart light, and move on to the next task. Your momentum is your most valuable asset. Don't let anyone's dust slow you down. The world is full of starters, but it is led by finishers. One of the most powerful statements Jesus ever made was his final cry: "It is finished." This wasn't a sigh of relief, it was a declaration of victory. It signified that every requirement had been met, every detail had been attended to, and the mission had been brought to its total conclusion. There is a profound spiritual and practical integrity in seeing a task through to its absolute end. High performers are not defined by the excitement they bring to a new project. They are defined by the discipline they bring to the final 5%. Anyone can start a business, a workout routine, or a book. Starting provides a cheap dopamine hit of potential. However, potential is worthless without completion. The real work, the hard, grinding work, happens in the middle and at the end. An unfinished task is an energy leak that drains your confidence and clutters your mental space. Completion is a matter of integrity. When you leave things 90% done, you are telling yourself that your word and your vision are not worth the final push. This creates a habit of mediocrity. In contrast, finishing builds a quote. Every time you cross the finish line, you prove to yourself that you are capable of mastery. This builds an internal reputation of reliability that is essential for long-term success. In any endeavor, there is a temptation to quit when the initial excitement fades and the results aren't yet visible. This is where most people drop out. But the finished work mindset pushes through the boredom and the fatigue. It understands that the value is not in the effort, but in the result. A bridge that is 99% complete is still a bridge that cannot be crossed. Only the finished work provides the utility. Make it your obsession to be a finisher. Audit your current life. How many open loops and half-finished projects are you carrying? Close them. Either finish them or officially discard them so they no longer occupy your energy. By bringing your tasks to a definitive "it is finished," you clear the way for your next level of growth. Excellence is not a state of mind, it is the habit of completion.